Hello, you're listening to Hibs Talk. I'm your host as always, Gav, and joining me today is Stephen.
Hello.
So, we had all our notes planned. I'd done loads of stuff on the Celtic game, all on that, but let's just get to it. Paul Heckingbottom's been sacked as Hibs manager. No mutual termination this time. Initial reactions to the news he's gone.
Finally. Oh, no, absolutely buzzing. But it's just one of these things that's dragged out far too long, and now it's finally over. Can start again. That's where we need to be. So
it's just and that you said about starting again. How big a job has the new manager, which we'll get to, got in terms of trying to turn around and save this season? I mean, we've seen Heckingbottom get us from 8th to 5th, from February onwards. Is there still time to turn around this season and save it?
100% there's still time. I think if they let it run past the St Johnstone game, then I think that's another step, because that's 6 point, that one. If we lose that, then that's where we're really sort of sinking. But I mean, we get in, Eddie May comes in, who's he got? Grant Murray and Stephen Whittaker to help out.
Interesting team.
It'll just be interesting to get over this game, see where it goes. I don't think we'll get beat. I think that the bounce of getting rid of Hecky, and a lot of the players can sort of relax now, knowing that they're not going to have the fans on their back shouting for Hecky to go. I think they can just sort of concentrate on their game now, pick it up and see where we go for there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll come back to St John's game in a minute, but I guess you've kind of got that thing of players either potentially impressing for a new manager or trying to play down a thing so when if a new manager watches this, they know that they've got to stay in the team. But anyway, we'll come back to the St Johnstone game. First thing on Heckingbottom, I think I understand people's frustration with him and how they're glad he's gone and how they've been wanting him gone for a long time. But I will say I think some of the attacks on him have been a bit personal attacks. I think some people have gone too far.
Yeah.
And sort of attacked his and got really sort of personal with it, which I think is unfair. The guy has committed to Hibs. He left, he moved away from his family, moved up here, was staying up here and only seeing his family once every few weeks and things like that. He really committed to it. It didn't work. It wasn't good. It didn't work out for whatever reason, which we'll probably get into a bit. But I don't think you can blame him for coming up and throwing himself into Hibs. And do you think some people have kind of got a bit carried away with the hatred towards him?
I think it is. It's one of these balances where the manager's the main man that's got to get the fault. He chooses a team. He picks the tactics. He sets us up, and he was setting us up to fail. There's one thing attacking his method and attacking why you should leave the club, but you didn't start personal abuse. And we've seen how bad it's turned out for fans as well. I mean, there's been a lot of infighting with fans. There's been abuse to players directly and stuff. There's a line where you've got to drop it and leave it at that. It's a club's decision as well. It goes past Hecky. It goes to the board, and they're responsible for keeping him on as long as well.
Yeah. So
there's that many folk to blame. The players have got to take responsibility, the management's got to take responsibility, and the board have got to take a lot of responsibility. Like
for me, I've been a big criticist, had a lot of criticism for Stevie Mallon because I think he's a really talented footballer, but I think he's also not helped by the fact he's played at position. But I've never said anything about his personal life, what he gets up to the one time and things like that. And I think some people have kind of taken it a bit too far. And I understand people are hurting. But anyway, I just think, as somebody who's had mental health issues and benefited from the changing room, which, is helped run by an association with Hibs, it really does. It's been a bit disappointing to see some people with personal attacks. But anyway, let's get on with Heckingbottom. Enough of that sort of stuff. What was the high points? Let's start with positives. What was the high points of Heckingbottom in charge?
Well, see, I think you're asking the wrong person because...
Come on, let's be positive. Find some positives.
What's the positives? He came in and he beat Hearts. That's pretty much the only... Beat Hearts at Tynecastle.
He went 10 games unbeaten.
But that's the thing though, Gav, and I says this right at the start, it was... He's 10 games unbeaten. He never beat a top 6 team.
But there was performances where we were horrendous first half against St Johnstone. He made tactical changes. We won 2-1. We were horrendous first half against Rangers. Should have been 3 or 4-0 down at home. He changed it. It finished 1-1. There was signs that he was tactically able to change a game. And that was a real positive. And again, like you said, Tynecastle.
I think it's
changed the game.
It's one of these things where, like, I didn't really sort of count for the first 5-6 games due to the fact that it's that bounce to the players. I mean, we could probably see it this time, like, now that Hecky's gone, do the players lift up and then 6 months down the line go on another run bad game?
let's not get too down and things like that.
No, but that's what I'm saying though. Like, I mean, you've got to sort of bypass the first few games that were like, but I don't know. We're just
also that game at Tynecastle, the tactical change we made. We went 2 up top and it wasn't working. We changed it to 1 up top. We turned it around to 1-2-1. So maybe 2 up top's not the solution for everything.
I'm just too much of a critic. That's what it is.
So overall thoughts on the Rain then? Obviously looking at this season as well as last season.
Underwhelming. But yeah, underwhelming. I think he's just a manager who came up from England, thought that he was better than what he actually was. Completely different game up here. And I says it time and time again that you can go for being, look at Alessio at Kilmarnock, went for being Conte's assistant at Juve straight to Kilmarnock, and then like the first 10-15 games never really done much, including the Betfred Cup group stage. Never done much, and now he's starting to find his feet. I think Hecky went over that threshold getting used to it, and he just never got back.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there was worrying signs. We done a big thing at the end of last season on the forwards getting hardly getting any chances. We really broke down a lot of the stats and how the Dundee game was one of the only games that would actually, created loads of chances. And there was worrying signs, playing players out of position and, letting go Marvin and Milligan and not replacing them. But even then, when we did have Milligan, we were too reliant on him. We were playing the ball to him. He was playing it to fullbacks. Fullbacks were playing it back to centre backs. I will be so happy if the new manager doesn't have Hanlon and Stevenson be our most successful passes in a match.
The biggest flaw with Hecky, and this is straight for the off, is the fact that he's never had a consistent 11. At the end of last season, he was made a lot of changes. We've went through it before the Celtic game at the weekend, and he's already played 25 players.
And the thing is, the contrast to that is we talked about how Lennon was doing that. It wasn't working. Heckingbottom had came in, and for those first 8 games or something, I think there was 12 players that were involved in the starting lineup, and Omiyonga was the only one that forced his way into the starting 11.
Yep, 100%. It's just, I think obviously this season he brought in his own players and didn't know what to do with them. And obviously the links with the agency and stuff makes you wonder. It goes, like I says, it goes past Hecky. It goes to the recruitment as well. Maffey was head of recruitment and ended up getting a promotion at the end of what's happened here.
But that's for the work that Maffey's been doing for years at the club, not just the one transfer window. And everybody's praised Hibs transfer business the last few windows. And I think I personally believe that Vela will turn it round, Newell will turn it round, Deutsch will turn it round with a new manager. I can say that now. I can openly say they've got an opportunity under a new manager to prove
everybody's got an opportunity, but again, it comes down to what the manager wants when he comes in, whoever it might be. It's if you want to play attacking football, you're not going to have 2 holding midfielders like Vela and Hallberg have been playing.
And I think Vela can play in a more advanced position, but he's been instructed to play as a defensive midfielder alongside Hallberg, and when it's not been that, it's been Hallberg and Mallon and Vela or whatever, playing 2 defensive midfielders at home to Livingston. It's not going to work.
It is. It's this time now, especially coming up to Saturday. It's time for everybody to get a fresh start. They can all go back and say to obviously Eddie May and especially Stephen Whittaker. Like, he's been around the players. He knows what they're like. He's even played himself as a centre back this season, which was unheard. It's one of these things where everybody have got a fresh start now. Boyle coming back, he'll probably go straight into the starting lineup on Saturday, in my opinion. Slivka's just come back for injury. His chance now to get back into the first team. There's that many players in midfield that have now got a chance to go for it and start, like, put their foot in for the new manager coming in. But
and the official statement from the club was, this is the shortened version obviously, is Paul Heckingbottom and Robbie Stockdale have been relieved of their duties at the club. So again, not a mutual termination like there has been in the past. Eddie May will take charge of on an interim basis, like he did before, supported by Grant Murray, again as before, but also with the addition of Stephen Whittaker, as you mentioned. Supporters can expect comment from the club in the coming days. So that could mean, we don't know, that's obviously speculation, but that could mean, more detail on what happened, or it could be they're hoping to appoint somebody before the St Johnstone game. So we'll wait and see what happens to that. Yeah. But, Stephen Whittaker, in the meantime, is on an interim basis, kind of standing in. We have a lot of right backs now. Yep. We have, he proved he can do a performance at centre back. Mm-hmm. Would you like to see Stephen Whittaker involved in some sort of setup, new management team?
Well, the thing is, it's his last year as well, his contract. Or has he got one more?
No, it's the last year.
This is his third year. So, especially with Gray and McGregor getting their new deals, I think that Whittaker could become a good coach. He's been around the squad for long enough. He's got that influence where he came in after a shocker with Adam Jackson, just walked in after 18 minutes and was probably the best player of the game. So he's one of these players that you can come in and do a job, and as much as I hate to compare it here because he's like a Rangers man, but Davy Weir, like sort of in the last few years of his deal with Rangers, he was coming in and just sort of playing that bit part role, but he was also doing a bit of coaching. I'd like to see Whittaker come in as end his career after this year when his contract runs out and go as a coach,
right?
And maybe this is a step for it.
Would you maybe like to see him involved within some sort of setup within the new team? Like say you've got, I don't know, for example, Stubbs as manager, Doolan as assistant manager, and Whittaker as first team coach.
I would go with that.
But anyway, we'll come back to suggestions.
You look at the players that we've got as coaches now, and Alan Colm, Colin Nash. Like, get Whittaker involved with him.
Yeah. I think there's a thing to keep in people around the club, which is something the club's trying to do, which is great and have to be praised for. So yeah, hopefully Whittaker does get kept around in some shape or form beyond the end of the season, but that's a talk for another day. So I may have already asked this, but just sort of kind of, if I did, or I apologise if I'm asking twice. Like I say, these notes are a bit scrambled. Where did it go wrong for Heckingbottom then?
Just the lack of wins against top six teams, right? And I argued with this like for the split last season was the fact that he's only had one win against a team that was in the then top six that's not anymore, in Hearts. Never beat Rangers, never beat Celtic, and the biggest problem for me was that when we went there, you never felt like winning. With Stubbs, with Lennon, both of them, every single time that we went to Ibrox, I felt as though we could win.
But I've made the counter argument to that. I know, like I do play devil's advocate a lot, but that was a different Rangers team that they were coming up against. But this Rangers team, I've just put 4 or 5, whatever it was, past Aberdeen, past Hamilton. This Rangers team are real deal. But
that's the thing, though. It was with Rangers, you target the fullbacks and you get goals. Like even at the end of last season, when Canberra came on and took it past Tavernier and hit side netting, could have changed the game at Ibrox. But with Heckingbottom this season, especially the 6-1 game, you just never saw us pushing forward. When Mackie went off, there was a few tactical changes that just never went right at all. But you just never felt as though we were ever in the game. Mm. Even when we went 2-1, like just before half time when Horgan scored, I never felt as though we were going to come back and win that game.
That's where I started to have doubts. I mean, I was quite impressed with Heckingbottom. I was kind of like, the whole top six things, I thought, there's a bit of burnout, it's been a long season, players know that they're leaving, they're not getting new deals, that's going to have an effect on the last 5 games, so I'm not going to read into that too much. I remember being at a working together meeting where Heckingbottom came along with Robbie Stockdale. He spoke brilliantly, he was really good with all the fans, really patient, really sort of answered all their questions and details, was probably a bit more going into a bit more detail than certain folk would have liked, which was quite funny. And he went on about what they were after in terms of a goalkeeper. He's broke it down into 6 positions plus Scott Allen. That's what we ended up getting, with the exception obviously Middleton came in for Boyle's injury and things. But yeah, he was talking about sticking to a budget, and I was really impressed with the way he talked. But then those sort of things started to become almost like negatives, like when he was talking about Ollie Shaw would have to go out, and then we'd only be able to bring somebody in with that. And I'm like, how strictly are you sticking to this budget? And it just seemed, and I mean, that might have been powers above him, but I think things like that were a bit. And then it was the Ibrox game, like I said, where afterwards, where he went we talked about 2 up top. He played 2 up top, 10 men. We had 10 men against Rangers at Ibrox, and we were getting beat. To me, you stick on Slivka, who was fit then. You win it in the midfield, and you try and get an equaliser from a set piece or something. But instead, we went 4-3-2, and then we got overrun in midfield, goal. And he said after the game, the shape wasn't what done it; it was individual errors. And I was like, that was the first real bit of disconnect between me as a supporter and the manager. And I'm like, and I think a lot of fans are probably listening, going, yeah, that's where there was a real disconnect. It's like, hold on, this guy's saying some weird things.
I know, and that's like, this is where I get the whole 3-5-2 thing. I wasn't going to try and bring it up today.
Of course you were. You were never going to go a podcast without mentioning 3-5-2.
I was just waiting for the Rangers game.
People with their Stephen Rayner bingo, you can score off 3-5-2.
I was just waiting for the Rangers game to be brought up, purely for the fact, and what you've just backed up there was the fact that we went and played a 4-3-2. You win against Rangers in midfield because you target the fullbacks. When you're already down to 10 men and you're putting 3 in midfield with 2 up front, you're never going to win it against it. And that's just what you've just said there is the disconnect with what he's saying and what he's actually implying in the game. And
I thought it was quite interesting. I remember praising Heckingbottom. I was at the press conference where he'd been awarded the manager of the month back in March, and there's a Gav goes to press conferences as the Gav bingo. So I remember being there, and he was getting that award, and he purposely had like all the staff out, and it was I thought it was a really nice thing to do. It was like, this award, manager of the month awards isn't just me, it's a team effort, and I thought that was really good. But then he really stuck to that philosophy of it's a team effort, and he never took ownership of a situation, never sort of said, I think the closest he came was after the Hearts game, where he kind of said, I might be, part of that, and he's kind of hinted at it then. But other than that, even Saturday, he was throwing, he was throwing the players under the bus.
100%.
He was individual errors, players' faults, and he was never taking ownership of the blame.
No.
And I think if you're doing that week after week after week for players are going to be like, why do I want to play for you when it's always my fault, when it's never your fault?
Exactly.
Your tactics have been crazy today. I disagree with them, and because I put a couple of passes astray, I'm getting the blame in your post-match interview.
And you saw it as early as the St Johnstone game when he come out and he was like, oh, it's the fans' fault for getting on everybody's back and that. And then
he never said that. That's paraphrasing quite a bit.
Well, it's not really. He turned around and says, oh, it doesn't help when the fans are booing the players and booing substitutions and that.
Which I actually agree with him to an extent, that he just played 90 minutes during the week, or 120 minutes, whatever it was, against Morton. And then,
right, James, just
no, I think he had a point. Like, why can he not take Scott Allen off? A guy who hasn't played a lot of football in the last year and a bit. So we could go over that one again. We've done that plenty.
It wasn't. We went through it at the time. It wasn't the fact that he brought off Scott Allen. Scott Allen is replaceable during the game. We saw it at the end of last season. We saw it under Lennon, and we saw it under Stubbs. Was the fact that he can't play full 90 minutes at full tempo. He was coming off after 70 minutes under Stubbs, and he was coming off after 60, 70 minutes off of Lennon when he was back on loan with us.
Yeah.
So he makes a difference, but he was then Hecky turned round and says after the game, and this is where it got to the fans, was the fact that he turned around and says, Scott Allen was ineffective this game because he was playing right midfield and he was doing nothing because he wasn't getting the service outside and he wasn't putting balls into the box.
But other than 3-5-2, that was the last game we've played 2 up top. How do you play Scott Allen in a 4-4-2? Because
you can't play him in a 4-4-2, and that's why I never suggest playing a 4-4-2.
But if you're going to go 2 up top, that's everyone's like, play 2 up top. And if it's not the 3-5-2, which we don't have the centre backs for the moment, or we didn't on Saturday because
we did
was injured. I know, but then you've got to look at Scott Allen and go, right, well, maybe Scott Allen can play on the wing, like right midfield or left midfield, and cut inside.
But I think there's got to be a bit of But that's where Malin comes in.
Right. Anyway.
Right. Okay.
No, we could go.
Right.
We're going over all things.
We've got to be coaches for the rest of the season. Just saying.
The Livy game. If Boyle had put that wide, or the defenders had been a bit more, up with Boyle, but pace of Boyle, they were never catching him. If he had not scored that goal, was Heckingbottom on charge on Saturday? Do you think?
Yeah, he would have been. And that's what's disappointing. And that's what disappointed me when I saw that Levine had got sacked for Hearts right before the semi-final, was the fact that Hibs were that determined. Oh, Heckie's got us to a semi-final, so Heckie deserves to play it. And that was the approach that Hibs were taking. I don't think there's any way around it, because you get 5 draws in a row against teams that we should have probably got 15 points from. How can you justify?
No 15 points, because you're talking about Celtic and Aberdeen. There.
To be fair, we should have got 3 points against Aberdeen.
Yeah, we should
I don't think anybody can say it, because Aberdeen had one shot on target and scored it.
Yeah.
But aye, that's fine. It's done.
But then we were defending well that game, because we didn't really concede any chances, and Maxwell didn't have much to do.
And we've already explained this about Maxwell as well. How can you concede one shot on target and concede a goal?
And on that, just quickly on Maxwell, there was a stat which I'm actually going to have to come back to. Cause
he had the lowest expected goals and the lowest and the highest amount conceded.
Yeah, it was the Rangers report, who are, although the Rangers related, are very good with their stats.
Yep.
And they came out, so it's to do with, like you said, the lowest expected goals and the goals that conceded and stuff. And he is second bottom, Xander Clark's bottom. And it actually fits in with a lot of how the league sits. The top's the Livy keeper, who's doing brilliant, but quite a few spaces above him is Ophir Marciano, and so I think that was a strange one. Again, it wasn't a popular decision. To be fair, I think Maxwell's done okay, but obviously that stat doesn't back that up. But I think dropping a popular player like that didn't help with fans' views on Heckingbottom.
No, and I think over the last 5-6 games, Maxwell's won round a lot of people, but I think people who have looked into it a bit more and not just sort of taking it at face value in the fact that we're only conceding 1-2 goals a game. Marciano he's our own player for a start. He's got to be playing next season if we get him on an extended deal, because I think there will be offers now that he's a regular starter again for Israel. The fact that Maxwell's came in, he's only had 1 or 2 shots on target per game, apart from the semi-final there, and he's conceded every single game pretty much. It says it all. I didn't understand the Ross County game. There was just a calamity in the last 10 minutes. But even that game, 2-0 up, and Heckie starts playing a bit more defensively. And Dave made the point at the game, was the fact that as soon as we had got the second goal, we could have got that third off of Canberra. Chance never went in. And then as soon as that happened, we all just moved back. Ross County started making a couple of changes, brought on Brian Graham. And then as soon as that happened, you just saw us sort of sink away back. And then Ross County pushed. And I don't think they came out our half, maybe about 3 or 4 times in the last 10 minutes. That's how bad it was. It's just, that's a tactical decision for the manager. And when you're setting up that defensively for the last 10 minutes, players have got to come at you. And, Brian Graham's goal, it was decent. But the fact that their second goal came for about 25 yards as well, it just showed the way it was. But, I don't know, it's done.
And finally, just before we move on from Heckingbottom, quite literally, your views on Saturday, which I know you'd had a few to drink, so but maybe not the crystalist memory of it, but
well, to be fair, when we scored the second goal, I thought it was only 3-1 so at the time.
So that kind of tells you how many drinks you had.
So then Dave casually pointed me in the direction that it was now 4-2, and then obviously game was over. But it was one of these things where I think for the first 10 minutes we'd done all right. First 10 minutes I could actually remember, and then as the game went on, it just you could see it, the players started to shy off. There was a lot of loose passes, but that's a confidence thing as well. Hibs aren't confident in their game. You can blame individual errors, and there was a lot of slack passing, but if you don't know who you're passing to or what the method is for going forward against Celtic, it was nothing like the game at Easter Road.
Why did on the Celtic game? This is one of the things I remember from my notes. He said about the tactics didn't work at Livingston the first half. And he said, why did it take tactical changes and a rousing team talk, his words, to change things to change the second half, change the performance?
Where was he at half time?
He was back in the dressing room for that game. And then why did he start with the same tactics with a couple personnel tweaks, but the same tactics against Celtic?
So he started.
It didn't work against Livingston. And I know Livingston and Celtic different teams, but the tactics didn't work, and he had to change it to do something better. Why did he?
I'll tell you why. Because he turned around before the Livy game, and says we are setting up to play exactly against Livy. We are setting up for Livy.
Mm-hmm. So why did he set up the exact same way against Celtic?
I don't know. You ask Hecky, because there's no justifying it.
Right.
That was the point I was trying to make, was the fact that he turned round before the Livy game and says we are setting up this way because it's the best way to play against Livy. Mm-hmm. If you're playing the exact same way against Celtic, we're a completely different team, considering they don't hoof the ball up 50 yards every single time they get it in their own half, then how are you supposed to play it? Because Celtic just walked through the middle of the park, and that's where we got beat.
Mm-hmm. So this is kind of like the best way to do this. Now, we'd asked for you guys usually we ask for questions, but we asked, because of what happened, who do you want as the next manager? So I think the best way to kind of do it is go through, and if you point out somebody that we've already mentioned and already talked about, then I'm sorry, we're not going to be reading it out, but yeah. So Dave is the first one here. It's apparently Jack Ross. He's already been offered the position.
Don't want him.
Why not?
Because his football's so boring. He got lucky at St Mirren for a move to Sunderland, and he's done nothing there.
Did he manage in the Premier League at all? The Premiership with St Mirren, or was it just the Championship?
No, St Mirren were 2 years in the Championship. He went to Sunderland from the time that St Mirren got promoted,
and then Stubbs took over, which I'm sure will be brought up. Jack has said Stephen Robinson or Jack Ross. Stephen Robinson's doing really well at Motherwell.
It's a different type of football though. And he's got a lot of good young players there.
So
But that's the thing as well. And Dave made this point, and I think Stuart and everybody else in the chat's made the points that none of the players that are at Motherwell, they'll want to come to Hibs. None of them will want to come to Hibs. I can't see us getting Alan Campbell. I can't see us getting.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the players. We're talking about the manager, Stephen Robinson.
But that's the thing, though. You've got a manager who wants to bring in his own players. And I don't think we've got to get the same type of players that he wants.
Right. Okay. I'm sure we'd back him. It's just patient. But
you've got.
So do you not think he can come in and do something with the squad of players that we've got?
I don't think he'll get us European football.
Right. Okay. Stubbs.
Yeah.
This is Josh has sort of brought this up. He says he doesn't think Stubbs is the answer. Tell him that he is. I already know what you're going to say. So Josh has said, I don't think Stubbs is the answer either. Argue against Josh.
Well, I'm not even going to bring up the Scottish Cup because everybody gets that. The fact that if Stubbs left us on his own accord because he didn't think he could achieve any more, I agree with him in the sense that Stubbs would have got us promoted the season after. 100% Stubbs would have got us out that league. But I think it was more the fact that Stubbs getting us back to the Premier League wasn't as big an achievement as before. He's declared his interest in the job. He's
speaking on radio as we speak. Yeah,
and he's been very vocal in the last 7 or 8 weeks as well about what's going wrong with Hecky. Stubbs kens how to bring a team together. If Stubbs came, I'd want Doolan back with him.
That was my next point. Mikey Stewart, not that one, had asked Stubbs and Doolan at least till the end of the season. 100%. How important is it to get Doolan, considering
if Stubbs came, we need Doolan. If Stubbs came his settle, I'd be really disappointed.
Because Stubbs, did they have Doolan at Rotherham? I honestly can't remember, but it didn't work out at Rotherham, and then he didn't have him at St Mirren.
I don't think he did have him at Rotherham, because remember that who else is it? Holden.
Mm-hmm. Holden is the third one.
Because I don't think that Doolan went because he was still considered as a candidate for the Hibs job when Stubbs went down to Rotherham.
Right.
So I think that's how it worked, but don't quote me.
So on Doolin, Darren McBay has said anyone, as long as John Doolin is assistant
100%.
manager. Gary Duffy said Graham McGregor, thoughts on a team like that coming into the end of the season?
Not till the end of the season, because I think if that was the case, we'd get relegated.
Mm-hmm. Kez has asked Martin O'Neill, please.
Interesting. I would take him.
Nah. Like, he done well at Ireland, but
it's not just
he's an old school manager that I think Hibs are a much more forward thinking club. I think he's stuck in the past, and I think I don't think he's the answer.
Fair enough.
But I mean, I would probably get quite excited.
Of course you would.
So I get this is a kind of, I guess, younger options. Greavesy has said Jack Ross, Gary Holt, or Scott Gemmell. Does Gary Holt fall under the same
no chance
thing
he wouldn't suit Hibs.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the same sort of category as Stephen Robinson for me and Jack Ross.
A certain style of play that
wouldn't
was
suit
hard
Hibs.
to try. Like, he'd have to change to appease Hibs fans and what they want to see.
100%. He'd be changing the philosophy at Hibs for the last 20 years.
He'd be changing what's made him successful.
Yeah.
Scott Gemmell.
Interesting, and I says this as well before Hecky came in, that Scott Gemmell, I mean, you see what he's done for Scotland under 21s.
No managed at a club level though.
But exactly, but that's the thing, you take a risk. There's been a few managers that have worked out well when they've just come straight into club level for the first time. So see how it goes.
Rob had asked about Graham Matthew under scrutiny for the signings, but you and me have already covered that already.
Kenny on Rees free by just saying.
It's Peyton. I'd take Roy Keane or I'd push Gary Holt. We mentioned Gary Holt, but Roy Keane.
See, Roy Keane's an interesting one, and I think it's more just sort of the credibility of having Roy Keane. Like, is he the type of manager that would suit Hibs play? I don't think he would. I don't know.
I can't remember how his Sunderland team played. So I think Roy Keane as a manager is one of those managers that needs a really good assistant beside him, because he's a man motivator, and he needs the right person beside him, and I don't know what that.
He needs somebody who's more tactically sound, and
I think that's why him and Martin O'Neill worked, because Martin O'Neill's a very clued up tactical manager, but we're not going to get them as a pair.
No.
But I can tell you this: if we got Roy Keane, I wouldn't be going back to the press conferences, because I'm not getting shouted at by Roy Keane for a silly question.
That's fine. Bring Roy Keane in. We might all get a shot.
So a lot of people saying about Stubbs, Roy Keane as well. Henrik Larsson?
Nah.
Davy Moyes? This is from William. William.
We've just had a discussion about this on the group chat, and he's not for me.
Why not Davy Moyes?
I don't see him, like, obviously all that you think about Davy Moyes for is Everton. Like, his thing with Man U was uninspiring. There was a lot of sort of talking about what was going on in the back there, and I think with the set up at Hibs now, where the owners seem to be running the show, and the owner and Leanne,
I wouldn't say running the show, but they've got a structure that any manager would need to come in and work within.
Exactly,
which is good for long term.
Yeah, and I don't think that he had that structure at Everton when he done well, but he did have it at Man U where it all fell apart.
Because he tried to change it.
Exactly, and I think he would want to change Hibs.
Potentially, but anyway, I think as much as again another credible name like Davy Moyes, you'd be like, wow, we've got Davy Moyes, a former Man United manager, and you'd give him a chance, but. Again, like
the position,
I think he's one of those managers that football's starting to get away from him.
Yeah, the Hibs, the position is though right now that any player, any manager who comes into Hibs, they'll be backed 100%. Whether it's Jack Ross, I'll still go and like praise him, and I'd want him to do well.
Yeah,
you never want a manager to come in, especially in our position, sitting third bottom by a point. You don't want a manager to fail.
Mm-hmm. So stop complaining, start campaigning, I think it is. Yes, well, I guess that right. So he has said, no one for the UK, let's push the boat. We showed the Brazilians how we played football in the early 50s. Let's and he's kind of going like that. So what do you make of someone from abroad? Maybe a German manager or a Brazilian manager
or a Northern Irish manager?
What would you? I'm sure that one's coming up. What's your kind of thoughts on I think there's a lot. One of the criticisms of Heckingbottom has been he doesn't understand Scottish football. Do you think there's going to be a real clamouring now for a Scottish manager or somebody that knows the Scottish game?
It's got to be somebody that knows the Scottish game. If we were sitting third or fourth and we were looking at European football and it was a lot less of a gap for us to close between Aberdeen. I'm not talking about points. I'm talking about quality and getting the best out of players to match them. Because I've said before in this season, especially after the Aberdeen game, their squad, it's not much different from us in terms of quality. It's the management. So we do need somebody that's got to bring a bit to the Scottish game.
Somebody that I guess knows the Scottish game from a brief spell here. Well, it's not brief, but I think Andrew's been a bit ambitious here. Gio van Bronckhorst, who is still employed as the Feyenoord manager.
Is he Feyenoord manager? I thought Feyenoord got a manager sacked. It was Jaap Stam that was the Feyenoord manager. He was
the Feyenoord assistant until 2015, and he's been the Feyenoord manager for the last 4 years.
I'm pretty sure that Jaap Stam just got sacked as a Feyenoord manager, but I'm not going to argue.
Gio
van Bronckhorst, I would take him.
I don't think we're going to get Gio van Bronckhorst. He's still the Feyenoord manager.
No, but that's what I'm saying. If you were wanting somebody like that, they've got to have a wee bit of experience in the Scottish game. It's just like saying get Amoruso in.
Oh, sorry. No, I apologise. He's left at the end of last season. So I'm guessing Jaap Stam took over at the start of this season.
And he's been sacked now.
Right, okay.
So can we get Jaap Stam?
We're both right. Yeah, I mean, he's been linked to a Man City and a role at Man City and stuff, and I can't say.
Arteta will leave his $50,000 a week contract at Man City just to come to Hibs for a management spot.
Stuart Wilson, no relation to me, has said Gavin Wilson till the end of the season, but only if he plays 3-5-2.
So if he signs me as his assistant, I'll go for that. We'll get Dave as a wee ball boy.
We're good at chatting about, but I don't know the thing about. I would no way would I accept the stress and the stuff that goes with being Hibs manager.
It's no football manager, Gavi.
It's no football manager, no. Sharon has asked Strachan.
Interesting.
Really? No.
Well, no, this is how I'm saying I'm not saying it's positive. I just said interesting. I don't think that he'll leave as a technical director at Dundee to become a manager in Scottish football.
Go back to the whole press conferences and...
It's too much for him now. Especially after the whole Scotland shambles. I think it's just a bit too much.
And David Cumming has said Alex Neil. Now Alex Neil,
ambitious.
Top of the Championship with Preston, linked with a Stoke job, but I don't think he's going to leave Preston for Stoke. No. He's not going to leave them for us. But I mean, I think he's a manager. He's a
manager who wants the Premier League. He wants the English Premier League.
And I think he's a manager that we should have looked at. I mean, I don't know when timelines matched up and stuff, but he's a manager we should have looked at years ago when he was at Hamilton.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but anyway, a lot of people saying about Doolan back in some capacity. Lee Calder and Darren, who's on the podcast a lot, have both said Ian Murray.
No.
A lot of people want...
It's just too soon. He needs a bit more experience at a higher level than League One. He failed in the Championship, didn't he? Got relegated. I think
he's doing well this season.
Yeah,
really well.
He's doing a good job. Well, but who's he with Airdrie?
Uh-huh.
I think it's just got to take a wee bit more. And I know that a lot of the fans at Airdrie are getting on his back as well now.
Really?
Yeah, it says that the results haven't been going well the last 3 or 4 weeks. So
alright, I've not kept up the last few weeks, but I know he was doing well early in the season. But I think, I think he needs to have a bit of experience. It would be a real risky one, and I don't see Hibs making a risky appointment.
Not now.
Stubbs at the end of till the end of the season. What would you make of an appointment till the end of the season? Considering
it'd be disappointing. It worked for Lennon at Celtic when he went back. They gave him to the end of the season.
But that was in the January or February.
Exactly, but he's in different circumstances as well. He's got a team that was already got to win the league last season, and all he needed to do was carry it through.
What were your thoughts? I mean, it's now just turned November. October's just finished. Is it too early in the season to get somebody
on a 10-year deal?
Is it too early to get somebody until the end of the season?
I think that if you were to offer a manager right now a contract till the end of the season, they'd be disappointed in it.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be very disappointed in the fact that you're saying you've got 8 months now to turn this around, get us from 10th, a point above bottom, back up to European places, because that's where Hibs, I'm assuming, still want us to finish. It's still early enough in the season to make up enough points, but you're going to need to get a manager who's got to be fully committed rather than saying, "Oh, I've got 8 months to turn this around," or "I'm going to be looking on again."
You want somebody. We'll get somebody in that's going to be long term. I really. Okay, let's get your banter pick out the way that no one has suggested. Go for it. Who do you want as your manager? Go
Sam
for
Allardyce. A manager who's never been relegated. A manager who turned Everton round from 16th to 7th.
100% record as England manager.
100% record as England manager. Name another person in England's history that's got 100% record as manager. Nobody.
I think Sam Allardyce has been really disrespectful of Scottish football, and you talk about somebody coming up and taking Scottish football lightly, he would take it lightly. I think I would not be impressed.
See, if I saw that belly laugh though, I would let him away with it. Imagine him against Lennon in a touchdown. Touchline.
Keith has said, get Tony Mowbray back. Would he leave Blackburn?
I don't think so. I think he's in a settled position there. His family's down in Middlesbrough and that. I think it would be risky for him to come back up.
How excited would you get if Tony Mowbray? Because
everybody would be excited.
He got a promotion last season with Blackburn. He's doing well. I mean,
why has nobody mentioned John Collins yet?
And that's a name that's not came up. But a name did come up, which I'm sure we've still got something to go through, and we'll talk about John Collins if need be. Mark has said one you talked about earlier, Michael O'Neill.
Just far too ambitious. He has been offered. He got offered the job after Fenlon left.
Did he?
Yep. And he got offered the job again when Butcher left, but he didn't want to come because we had just been relegated. And I'm sure he got offered again the last time after Stubbs left before we got Lennon. I'm sure Michael O'Neill was actually our number one choice round about the Lennon time where he got appointed.
Right.
So I think, what's he getting now? 50, 60? Got a year's ban on his driving licence, so he can't fire down the road anymore. I think he's got a cushy job with the Northern Ireland position. Have they not? They're not sitting top of the league for their group in the Euros.
I've given up on international football. I'm not going to lie.
I'm sure that they're heading to Euro 2020. So I don't see why Michael O'Neill would leave. I think that every single fan would get on board with him coming to us, but just can't see it.
So looking through Instagram, nobody has mentioned John Collins. So why don't you have a chat? Why do you want John Collins back? A manager who done really well with us.
Yep.
Left on
bad terms, and since then has had a mediocre to poor run in Belgium and been Celtic's assistant manager and Livingston's director of football. Because he knows the Hibs way. Like he genuinely is. There's no person that I can think in management just now that knows Hibs philosophy better than John Collins, that could come in and pick it up, who's had managerial experience and had managerial success with Hibs.
What do you make of the people say, this is not something I've seen on any air feeds, but I did see somebody put about John Collins and John Hughes as a management team? I
think that would be a great management team. I think that what they tried to do at Livy, it never worked because they never had the players that wanted to adapt to how they want to play football. If they came to Hibs together, both knowing fine well how we want to play football and how the fans want us to play football, I think that would work for us.
And kind of related to that, McPake at Dundee, somebody said McPake with Hughes as number 2.
I think he's in the same boat as Ian Murray.
Not done enough yet. Could you see somebody like John Hughes who maybe would accept that he's been out of football as a main manager for a bit? Could you see him taking the number 2 job at Hibs, considering he's been manager at Hibs before?
I don't know. I think it's always got to be a step down, but I think if he had somebody who's like Collins, I think if he worked with him, then it would be fine. But I think it would take somebody like a really big name for Hughes then to fall back to a assistant.
And this was somebody who was linked with it last time, actually. The Australian national coach. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, but yeah, he's been linked. He was linked with it last time. There's a couple of reports ran on it. I don't know how much truth was in it, but I might remember we spoke about him last time. He's done an alright job with Australia. Any knowledge about him, or can you remember us talking about him last time?
Is it not still Graham Arnold?
I don't know.
Well, you says that you had his name there.
No, I had his name. I might have said that, but I didn't have his name. It was somebody else's name. So yeah.
Well, I mean,
I'll Google it while you have
you look at the players that have been brought up to the Australian squad recently. Like obviously Boyle, so he knows Boyle. He had McLaren. He gave McLaren his chance back in the Australian national team. So, and obviously like half my family are Australian, so they know like how well they are. But
yeah, Graham Arnold.
Yeah, so I think that it would be a good appointment. But again, if you're asking a manager to come out of international football to go back to a club level, especially when they've not had any experience in the Scottish Premier League, they know of the players, because obviously they've done some scouting over here to get the players that they have had. I think they're talking about getting that Lyndon Dykes as well for Livy to Australian co-op. So they're obviously got scouts over here, but I think it's just a wee bit too much to ask. And I know he's a wee bit older as well. I'm sure he's in his 50s or something. So I think when people get settled in international football, it's a big jump back.
And a name that's been linked with Hearts is the Scotland national women's team manager.
Oh, Shelley Kerr.
Would you be interested in Shelley Kerr?
Nah. I can see, obviously, I think it's more just this whole like political agenda now where they want like a woman. It was the same with Chelsea before Lampard. They wanted the Chelsea women's coach.
Shelley Kerr, no disrespect, I think she's done a great job with Scotland, but the Chelsea manager would have been a great appointment for the men's team. Don't get me wrong, Frank's doing a brilliant job, but she has done tremendous work. I think developed that Chelsea team so much. I think she would have been deserving of it.
It's far too much a gamble as well, especially in Scottish football, when you've got all the bigotry, all the sectarianism, and all the racist abuse.
Unfortunately, I don't think Scotland's the best place for it yet.
100%.
And I it's a risky thing for the first person to do it. I think it would be great. I think it'd be really forward thinking, and it will happen eventually.
I think there are a couple in like the German lower leagues that have got women.
But in terms of a top flight league, it's set to happen. So it would be a real gamble, and I don't think we're in a position to take a gamble at the moment. But I think it's something that will happen. So all you sexist pigs, get used to it. It's going to happen eventually. So looking at the odds at the moment, Jack Ross evens. Jim nobody's mentioned, but he was linked with it before. Jim what is it, Maggleton? How do you pronounce that second name? I butchered it last time we were linked with him.
I'm sure it's Jim Maggleton.
Right, there you go, him. Any thoughts on that? No.
Mm.
Dean Holden again in the running, but I think that the thing with the bookies is they kind of look who was linked with it last time just to get some odds up so you get people betting. Yeah. I don't think these are credible names linked with it. David Unsworth, who I believe he was meant to be Stubbs' assistant, then turned it down because wasn't going to move away from his family, which I respect that. I respect the decision to do that, but I can't see him now coming up for the manager's job. Done well with his brief stint as Everton manager before Allardyce got the job.
Yep. Before that man turned the season around and
but now looking at names, I think we've kind of covered everybody. So yeah, and somebody I had joked, what's Appleton up to? I think he's back at West Brom as like the under 23 coach or something. I think that boat sailed. So I mean we'll kind of probably go into this a lot more in terms of with manager names and stuff. But what
next week will be such and such appointed.
Yeah. So hopefully it's a quick appointment, and we've got the international break. So that's the thing. Like, first question, with international break next week, do you want to see somebody in charge this week?
No.
Would you rather see Hibs take their time?
I would just give Eddie May it this week. He doesn't want to be manager. He's already says that he doesn't want to be manager. Give Grant Murray and Stephen Whittaker alongside him a chance, just to sort of even give them a game.
What's your thoughts on clubs shouldn't sack their managers until they've got somebody else lined up?
I think that's ridiculous, because that's where you leave yourself in a position like we are now. If we had sacked our manager 6 weeks ago, they would have had the last international break to choose a manager.
No, but what I'm saying is, should the way, like, so say we had
No, because
Jack Ross. So there's still rumours that may be true. Jack Ross, for example, apparently offered the job. Would you be happy if Hibs have only sacked
Hecky
once Jack Ross has accepted it, or do you think that's a bit doing the dirty on the manager?
I don't think it's just doing the dirty on the manager. I think it's leaving yourself short of options, because
no, but I'm saying you don't sack until you've got your man lined up ready to come in.
But who is your man?
But that's what I'm saying. A hypothetical person, this person, right? We're not going to sack Heckingbottom until we've got somebody to come in.
So say when Lennon got sacked, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that was a bit unexpected.
Yeah. Well, say when he left, say we went for Solskjaer, right? And obviously we left that a couple of weeks, and he was linked to the Man U job and got it, right? Just say hypothetically you pick Jack Ross just now because he's available, and then 2 weeks down the line somebody else has got available, like somebody else becomes available that you would have thought would be a better pick for Hibs. It's one of these things where, like, because then you just got to have managers jump in every single month until you get it right. I think that if you've got a manager already lined up, you're sort of cutting your options. And you're dragging out the process as well, because if you think that a manager's got to get sacked 2 weeks down the line, you're already maybe talking to him saying, "Oh, if you get sacked, then you can come to us." Then that means that you're dragging Hecky along for 2 weeks, knowing fine well that you want to get rid of him.
Well, in saying that, there's rumours that James Fowler, his assistant, was at the game against Livingston at Easter Road. So maybe there's something in that, but we'll wait and see. I think it's good to be organised, but at the same time, I think it lacks a bit of class, and I think Hibs.
Yeah, it does.
I think if you give your manager a chance, and once you go, right, this isn't working with this manager, you speak to that manager first, and you say, this is just my opinion. Not a lot of people won't agree with it, but I think you go, right, it's not working with him. You've got to go. You have people in place that can come in and hold the ship, and especially when in a national break coming up, you go out and you get your manager.
Yeah, 100%. And there was talk. Was there no talk that after what game was it? Motherwell game that Leanne went and spoke to Hecky after the game and says, "How's it we turn it around?" There was rumours obviously, but
I never heard about that.
I'm sure there was talk about like Leanne sitting in with Hecky and saying.
So I like that. If that's true, then I like the fact that.
Exactly.
Look, I know it's great. I see now that he's gone.
Yeah.
I know people have been hurt in the last few weeks, but I like the fact that Hibs gave their manager time. They didn't, sack him without giving him a chance. To me, it's been clear for a few weeks it hasn't been working, but at least the manager gave him a chance, and I think the club have actually got to be credited with that. They've given him a run of fixtures and the cup semi-final that he got to. Maybe shouldn't have got the cup semi-final because I didn't think we had a chance going into it. But in saying that, a new manager going in, is he really going to do anything against that Celtics team? But no, I think the club have got to be credited for being patient with the manager. And I know people will be annoyed with me for that. We're being too positive and all that sort of stuff. But that's just my opinion. I think that we done the right thing and we gave him. We're not going to look back with regrets and say, but Heckingbottom done so well that first 10 games. Maybe we should have given him more time. I think we've given him time and the club can kind of go, we've done the right thing, rather than just, people were calling for his head after the St Johnstone game because we got beat to Rangers to that big deficit.
I was calling for his head after the end of last season.
And then you were posing for photos of him at the Player of the Year Awards as well. Yeah, I've got a photo with you with him.
Pretty sure I've not got a picture with Hecky.
You have, yes.
If I have, I'm going to stick a big logo over it because it's not me.
But no, and I know, can I bring this round to before we finish up with Room 1902, I know it didn't work out and he wasn't very good at his job, or it didn't work out at Hibs for him. Best luck to him wherever he goes in the future.
He's just in time for the general election as well.
What are you bringing politics into this for?
Well, he's a good motivational speaker. He could be a good politician. Can you imagine Prime Minister Hecky?
No.
No? Oh, well.
So I was kind of worried about how we were going to do for time, but because we didn't have any notes, but my God, we've done an hour, so we've done not too bad.
It's alright.
Your belly must be rumbling because you were saying you hadn't had dinner yet.
Know. Completely off the cuff tonight as well, just the 2 hours.
So we're going to finish up with Room 1902. If you hadn't heard Room 1902 before, it's basically where we take something rubbish about either Hibs related or Scottish football related, I would chuck it in room 1902. It's basically room 101, but room 1902 because that's where the hoodoo went to die. So
where have we got to? What have we already got in?
It's hard to remember, but I remember
Seagulls,
sports scene, Cup hoodoo, Hibs throw-ins went in last week. Billy,
fair play, that's a good one.
Aye, well, it shows you didn't listen to the podcast last week just because you weren't on it. And what was the other one? There was another one, but I can't remember.
I did listen to it last week because then they went on that rant about FIFA and PES.
Okay, I did listen. I brought that back. Okay, so have you 100% got yours, or do you want a few seconds to think about yours?
No, go for it.
You ready to go?
Yeah.
On you go then. What's yours?
It's got to be the social media thing for the players. It's if they've got an opinion, keep it private. Just don't allow yourself to face the abuse that you get, because like there's been so many big name players, and I think was it no you that says about after the semi final with Malin? And
I think what's wrong with Malin going to a wedding and posting it online.
And the abuse that he got for it, it's ridiculous. Like, you literally set yourself up for a fall.
Well, is he setting himself up, or should he be allowed to go to a pre-arranged wedding?
No, that's what I'm saying. So
you're saying go, but don't post it on social media, or you just?
I'm just saying the barrier between social media between players and fans, like it's always got to be crossed over, and the amount of abuse that like players get, I would just keep them off social media. If you can keep them away from betting sites, then you can keep them away from social media.
See, I disagree. I think that they should be allowed to go on social media, and they should be able to post that they're going to a wedding, and okay, the wedding was booked, or whatever event it was that was booked the same day of the cup semi-final. I think it's ridiculous that he got abused for going to that. And people might say that, you shouldn't be posting that after a game, but you know what, the guy that went, and I don't have a problem with people having social media and being active on it.
I don't think there is a problem with posting it, but I think that if you're going to do it, keep your profile private to your family and friends or whatever. People who aren't going to like jump on it and give you abuse. It's the same where like the English Premier League, they've been criticised about it because they set themselves up for abuse. Scottish Premier League, exactly, with like Rangers and Celtic players, Hibs and Hearts not so much, but the fans are there that are still giving them the abuse. If you want to keep a social media profile, if you can keep a player away from putting a bet on, you can keep them away from putting a Twitter post up. Although I'd be really disappointed, because then obviously we miss out of Marvin Bartley praising the podcast. Just saying. Well
done in getting that in. My one this week, this is different because I thought about this shit. I was like, should I get to vote on what goes in? I think this week I say it every week and never do it. I will actually need to put up a Twitter poll, because I think it'd be unfair if I was to choose which one goes in, because I think I'll choose mine because I think it's really good.
Well, everybody chooses against me anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
You still get one in. But so my vote for this week, which will go to the public vote this week, will be the fact that we've got 2 goalkeeping kits, and we keep on wearing our purple kit as our goalkeeping kit. And I know we wore the purple one for the first time in ages as our away top at Hampden on Saturday, which was great to see. But I think it's ridiculous that I might be wrong with this stat, but I'll chuck it anyway. I think we've wore the purple top, which everyone was so excited about.
We've wore it more as a goalie top than we have as an away top.
We have. Everyone was so excited about a purple away top, and I think we've worn it more. The goalkeepers have worn it more times than the players have worn it, and I think that's ridiculous. I think it's a beautiful top. It's a great away top, and no disrespect to the grey top, but no, I think we should be wearing the purple one more.
Don't vote for it, but I completely agree with you, guys.
And I think like if you don't have just a one goalkeeper top, and then it's like, oh well, their kits kind of match. Oh, we can't have the goalie wearing a yellow top because Livy playing yellow. Why does our I think our second one's white, and then the top's grey. So it's like, oh, they clash. It's like, well, we should be wearing
a purple top if you're wearing the grey.
But no, I think it's ridiculous. I think, why not have a crazy colour, like a bright pink or something that no one else is going to have as your second goalkeeper top? Because then you're not going to have that issue. I think
St Mirren have a bright pink goalie top.
Do they? There you go. They're clever. But I think like you're never going to sell that many goalkeeping tops, so I don't think the colour matters. I think you should have one standard like yellow goalkeeping top and one that's like a 90s throwback with the crazy designs. It's all splattered and all the different colours and stuff. That's never going to clash with a top.
Remember,
and it's like
the Jim Leighton goalie top.
Aye, something like that. This is kind of going into two things. It's like bring back the crazy goalkeeping tops and stop wearing the purple away kit as a goalkeeping top. Okay. Wear it as an away top. I think it's crazy that we're wearing the grey one so much more. It's probably a marketing thing to try and get that one selling more. But the purple one's probably selling well enough anyway that like, we don't have to wear it that much. Wear the purple one more as an actual top, not just when we play Celtic, and stop putting on the goalkeeper. Saying that, I'll probably be on the goalkeeper against St Johnstone. So, but that's my rant because it's been bugging me for weeks, and every time I see it, it just bugs me more. And when I seen Maxwell wear it against Livingston, I was like, ugh. So yeah, I'm actually quite. I never usually get the chance to do a rant on Room 1902. So you're never going to get many chances to vote for me. So vote for mine. So yeah, we'll put that for a vote on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's the 3, isn't it? Yeah. So if you want to vote for that and you want to follow us, it's at HFC Talk, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast. If this with the whole manager sacking, and if this is your first time finding us, make sure you subscribe and stuff. Aye, and Hecky's gone. It's been a stressful few weeks. To kind of round it up,
months.
Aye, stressful few months. Like. The thing that kind of turned it for me, as well as Heckingbottom, kind of bringing it around to finish up with Heckingbottom, the thing that turned it for me was it wasn't fun going to see Hibs anymore.
No, definitely not.
Like, we had a great day on Saturday. Great the bus, I have to say, I think partly because of the results, the bus atmosphere wasn't bouncing between...
You were asleep?
No, on the way back I was asleep, yeah, but on the way to Glasgow it wasn't, but the pub to Hampden was absolutely bouncing. Great atmosphere, and then we had a great day. We bumped into we went for drinks outside the stadium. We bumped into a Celtic fan. We were chatting to him. I don't know if you can remember this. You're looking at it quite blankly. He was a great laugh. We had a really good time, and then we went in, and then just the football wasn't fun, and it kind of just puts a damper on your day.
I've never ate so many pies in my life.
You did have quite a few pies.
I know, that was a bad day.
But like, I just think, get back to the original point, it's not been that fun to go to Hibs games recently, and I think that's kind of like, it's an entertainment sport. We say about it's a results business, but it's also an entertainment thing, and it's not been entertaining the last few weeks. It's been quite downheartening, and it's quite exciting about the change now. And like I say, from a personal point of view, great guy. I know, kind of like, I've got the benefit of meeting him at the press conferences a couple of times and stuff. But he's a genuinely really nice guy, and wish him all the best. But from a managerial point of view, it wasn't working out. St Johnstone, we'll wait and see. We might. The thing is, we have to do another podcast if this announcement in the next few days is a new manager. But we'll wait and see. So we'll be back at some point. We'll be back, definitely back next Monday to look back at St Johnstone game and continue the managerial chat if that's still going. But if we appoint another manager, we'll definitely chuck in a podcast and talk about the new appointment if that happens before the St Johnstone game. So, for that reason, subscribe and all that bollocks, and we'll be back next week at the very least.